Okay, let's talk about, in your outlines there, we've got a little list of things associated with auditory processing problems. And just to go through that, at the top of that list is distractibility, short attention span. Now, let me talk about those issues. I say, the top of the list of my concerns is auditory processing. And if we look at most of the kids labeled as having attention issues, the vast majority of them have auditory issues. Unless you're crazy or drugged, you only attend to what you can process. Okay? I'll say that again. Unless you're crazy or drugged, you only attend to what you can process. All right? If I were standing up here speaking in Greek, which you couldn't process, you should leave. Right? Well, essentially, you have a child. Let's say you have a child who's 8 years old. He's in a third grade classroom, and he has the processing ability of a 4-year-old. Okay. What's he processing? Not much. All right. What's he attending to? Not much. What's he distracted by? Everything. Okay? As he should be. All right? You attend to what you process. Now, if you said, Bob, I've got a bunch of 2-year-olds and I want to sit them in a second grade class, how can I do that? There's only one way I know you could do that. You drug them all. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
This is something that's kind of strange. I've got a 12-year-old daughter, and, this is kind of strange, but it's like, I wash the clothes, and I'll dry them, and I'll fold them, and I'll put them on her bed, and I'll tell her, put your shirts where they go, pants where they go, and everything else where they go. And it's like, I'll look in there, and everything's in one spot. And it's like, why does she not
process?
It's like, and I'll tell her, again, it's like, it's still the same thing every time.
Yeah, let me take that a step further. We checked your auditory sequential processing with those digit spans. That actually tested your, what we call auditory short-term memory. Okay, pretty much straight in and straight out. What's actually more important than that is your auditory working memory, and that gets more into a reverse digit span, which would be how many numbers could you listen to and repeat backwards. Okay, because that's essentially how many pieces can you hold and manipulate. So in terms of your daughter carrying out a job like that, it really is more working memory. So she might have been able to repeat the direction you gave her, but in the process of doing it, not have it in the working memory to be able to do it. Now the classic thing, you tell the kid to go upstairs and do this and that, all right? And you go up 10 minutes later and they're anding upstairs, I mean, no clue what it was you told them to do. And processing, huge deal, huge deal. Okay, behavior problems. When we look at global neurological maturity, the best tool we have to assess that is auditory sequential processing. If I have a 15-year-old who has the processing skills of a 4-year-old, I've got a 15-year-old with the neurological, emotional maturity of a 4-year-old. Okay? It is what it is. And if I want that 15-year-old to act like a 15-year-old, I've got to increase the processing skills. To illustrate that, look, it's easiest to see that with little kids. 1-year-old kids who can process one piece of information are the easiest they'll be in their entire lives, okay? You give a 1-year-old something, they smile and they're happy. You can take it away, they're still smiling and happy, okay? because they only process one thing. Right? You know, you enjoy that for the first year because then they hit the twos. Right? And they're not called the terrible twos for nothing. All right? And they're the terrible twos because 2-year-olds process two pieces. The two pieces are typically I want or don't want. End of discussion. Okay? You know, they're totally illogical. They don't process a but or a later. It's simply I want or don't want, right? When you get to 3, it changes again. At 3, we get into what we call lock and block behavior, which means the kids can kind of understand what you say, but they kind of depend on their perception of the situation to determine if it's okay or not. So you ask a 3-year-old to do something, and if they think it's fun and non-threatening, great. All right. If they perceive it as therapy or work or threatening in any way, shape, or form, they just lock up on you. I tell people I train, the toughest kid you're ever going to assess is a normal 3-year-old. Because they're going to walk in the door with a parent and take one look at you and know your trouble, and they're not going to do anything. Nothing. Okay? It's not until they're 4 that you can begin to reason with them. Okay? All right. So every step, every piece of this sequential processing is huge, gargantuan in terms of the total function. You know, I watch the news in the morning and listen to all the horrible stuff that happened around here during the course of the night. And if you listen to what goes on, you realize that we've got all these adults processing down there at the 4 and the 5. We've got the judgment, the reasoning of a 4 and 5-year-old. They just happen to be that big, weigh 200 pounds, and carry a gun. Okay? All right. That's scary. That's scary. Okay. Hyperactive. If your 2-year-old isn't hyperactive, they're sick. Okay? If you've got a kid with low processing, they will only attend to things for the length of time a child would who has that correct processing. So if your child's a 5, they're going to attend to something as long as would a typical 5-year-old. Okay? That's how it works. All right? So it's not a matter that they're wired and they're overactive. Their activity level is a reflection of what they can process. You attend to what you can process. Yeah.
So if a child is fidgety and can't sit still, he can probably be at a 2?
Well, depending on what the range is, but I mean, you try to put a kindergarten child in a 2nd grade classroom, they're going to be fidgety, distractible, hyperactive. Right? You put that 5-year-old in 10th grade, it gets ugly. The processing is huge. Okay, impulsive. Again, the processing determines the global level of neurological maturity. Are little kids impulsive? Absolutely. If you have low processing, are you impulsive? Absolutely. Okay? And then it creates problems with math and reading, following directions, social emotional maturity, language, syntax problems, following multiple step directions. That's pretty much the list of what you do, right? Affects everything. Okay? Huge. If you have visual processing problems, it's not quite as big a deal, but it still is going to create problems with things like math and spelling, reading fluency, visual attention, eye contact, and you also have problems with visual reversals. Speaking of visual reversals, often the fastest way of getting labeled as dyslexic is to have visual reversals. Okay. Visual reversals are a reflection of visual dominance problems. Okay? If you've got a kid who's reading Dog for God, he's got a visual dominance problem. Okay? Visual reversals are visual dominance problem. Nothing mysterious. Fixable. Okay? Do not have a disease. Just using the wrong eye. You can fix that.